What really happened between Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads? Two hometown heroes. Two guitar revolutionaries. One city, Los Angeles, and only one throne at the top of the mountain. Before the record deals, before the platinum albums, before the world tours, they were just two young shredders battling it out on the same Sunset Strip stages, the Starwood, the Whiskey, Glendale College. One night it was Van Halen blowing the roof off. The next, Quiet Riot firing back. Every solo was a statement. Every show was a warning shot. Eddie was the spark. The guy who flipped the guitar world upside down in '78. Randy was the perfectionist.
Because I'm really proud and honored, and I don't want to stop here, you know.
The classical-minded prodigy determined to prove he was more than just flash. So why the tension? Was it jealousy? Was it competition? Or was it something deeper? Two geniuses recognizing themselves in each other. When Randy admitted he borrowed some of Eddie's ideas, was that respect or rivalry? When Eddie said, "Everything he did he learned from me," was that arrogance or brutal honesty from a man who knew he'd changed the game? And here's the twist most people miss. Behind the subtle jabs, the interviews, the comparisons, there may have been something else entirely. Mutual admiration wrapped in ego. Inspiration disguised as competition. Two innovators pushing each other without ever standing side by side. This isn't just a story about copying licks or tapping technique. It's about pride, legacy, influence. And what happens when two once-in-a-generation talents rise from the same streets at the same time? Were they rivals? Were they secretly fans of each other? Or were they simply two kings who refused to kneel? Let's break down the real story, the myths, the quotes, the jealousy, the respect, and uncover what truly stood between Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads. The truth? The rivalry didn't come out of nowhere. Randy might have sparked it first. He used to take little shots at Eddie's playing, dropping slick remarks here and there. Back in '76 or '77, Randy saw Van Halen live for the first time, and it changed everything. According to his girlfriend Jan, he walked out of that show completely shaken. He'd always been the king of Burbank, the local guitar hero everyone praised. But after seeing Eddie, he was stunned. It was an eye-opener. He realized he had serious competition, but it also lit a fire under him. He thought Van Halen was unbelievable and wanted to reach that same level of greatness. Randy's close friend Kelly Garney spilled even more. He said they first heard about Van Halen back when the band was still called Mammoth. Word spread fast around Pasadena. Rumors of this loud, incredible band tearing up house parties. Randy got so curious that he convinced his girlfriend to drive him to one of those gigs just to check them out. When he came back, Kelly asked him, "So, how were they?" And all Randy said was, "They were pretty good." You could tell he was holding something back. Then came the big moment. Quiet Riot and Van Halen ended up sharing the same stage at Glendale College in April 1977. Quiet Riot opened, Van Halen headlined, and that's when things got personal. Randy went up to Eddie and asked how he kept his guitar perfectly in tune without a locking nut on his tremolo system. Eddie smirked and refused to tell him, saying it was his secret. That hit Randy hard. He was the type of guy who loved to share knowledge, always teaching and helping other musicians. So Eddie's attitude must have felt like a slap in the face. By 1982, people were already comparing them constantly. During a guitar clinic that year, someone asked Randy, "There are critics who accuse you of copying Eddie Van Halen. Are you influenced by him?" Randy answered calmly, "Well, we're both from the same town, and we were both in local bands. It seemed like everybody in LA was a lead guitar player, and we all played very similarly." Even in that answer, you can feel the tension, polite on the surface, but with a hint of rivalry underneath. These two weren't just players, they were competitors, both fighting to stand out in a world that only had room for one king of the guitar. Everybody kept saying the same thing, that all the local guitarists in LA sounded alike. But come on, that doesn't just happen overnight. It's pretty suspicious that a whole wave of players suddenly popped up playing the same flashy licks and tricks. Somebody had to light that fire, and that somebody was Eddie Van Halen. He was the spark that kicked off an entire generation of guitar madness. Back in 1977, three major local bands, Van Halen, Quiet Riot, and The Boys, ruled Hollywood's hottest clubs like the Starwood and the Whiskey A Go-Go. The Strip was alive with screaming amps and shredded guitar solos. George Lynch, who played in The Boys, was grinding through the Sunset Strip scene too, performing alongside Van Halen and Quiet Riot, all chasing the same dream of becoming the next big thing. Around that time, Randy Rhoads threw some serious shade at Eddie. He once said, "Eddie's playing is mostly smoke and mirrors. You want to see a guy who can really play and play good? Watch George Lynch. He's an amazing player." That was a bold jab, especially since Lynch and Eddie were battling for attention on the same stages. Here's where it gets wild. Before Van Halen blew up, they used to open for George Lynch's band. One night, George's group was supposed to get signed, but Van Halen absolutely crushed it on stage and stole the show. The label's attention shifted straight to Eddie and his crew, and George's band got left behind. That story's been floating around Hollywood for decades. George even admitted afterward that seeing Eddie play made him question everything. He said he either needed to quit guitar altogether or take lessons from that guy. That one night changed everything for him. It set him back years. To make it sting even more, the Boys were supposed to play a showcase for Gene Simmons from Kiss, who was scouting for talent for his new label. Van Halen opened for them, and Gene was so blown away that he didn't even stay to see the Boys. After that, George's band fizzled out, and he eventually formed Exciter before joining Dokken. George Lynch's road to fame wasn't quick. He tried twice to land the lead guitarist spot for Ozzy Osbourne's band. First in 1979, but he lost out to Randy Rhoads. Then again in 1982 when he briefly replaced Brad Gillis, but Ozzy switched gears and went with Jake E. Lee instead. Lynch even said Ozzy hired him for 3 days before changing his mind. Brutal. George Lynch didn't really break through until the mid-'80s, years after Van Halen's debut album had already changed everything. By then, Lynch was part of the next wave of shredders, following in Eddie's footsteps, whether he wanted to admit it or not. And here's the twist. Remember how Randy said Eddie's playing was all smoke and mirrors? Well, in 2009, George Lynch finally came clean about what was really going on back then. He said straight up, "We were jealous and we were all trying to play catch-up. We thought, oh boy, we better get on board. This guy's gonna change the world." He even remembered his first time hearing Eddie's name floating around. "I'd been hearing about this guy with the weird European name. He's got a torpedo on stage, the bass player wears clogs, they've got bombs going off, and the guy's unbelievable." When George finally saw them live, it blew his mind. Van Halen was still doing covers, stuff by Rainbow, Montrose, but their original songs were just as good, if not better. George said after that show he went home, locked himself in his room, and played guitar until the sun came up. That's how powerful Eddie's influence was. He didn't just inspire people. He pushed every guitarist in LA to step up or get left behind. George Lynch once said, "Man, how can I get that tone?" That's how powerful Eddie Van Halen's playing was. Even other legends were trying to crack his sound. By 2022, George openly admitted it. Eddie was a massive influence on him. He made it clear that Randy Rhoads wasn't really his influence, but Eddie definitely shaped how he played. And funny enough, Eddie also influenced Randy. It was like the Jimi Hendrix effect all over again. One guy comes along, flips the whole guitar world upside down, and suddenly everyone's trying to catch up. Eddie wasn't just playing, he was setting the standard everyone else had to chase. Back in the 80s, when Eddie was asked how he managed to play so fast, he threw out a sarcastic gem. "I don't play very fast, actually. It's all mirrors, you know." Then he laughed and said, "Where did I learn to play so fast? You just lock yourself in a room." That's classic Eddie. Humble but cocky at the same time, making it sound effortless when he was really reinventing rock guitar behind closed doors. Meanwhile, in 1981, Randy Rhoads sat down with journalist John Styx for an interview, and Styx asked him, "You didn't go through an imitation stage?" Most people start that way. Randy got real honest. He said, "To be honest, I wish I could agree with you. Everything happened so fast in this band that I haven't had enough time to really think what I want to do. For instance, I do a solo live of Suicide Solution, and I do a lot of things that Eddie Van Halen does, and it kills me that I do that. It's just flash, and it impresses the kids, and I'm trying to make a name as fast as I can. I wish I could take time and come up with something that nobody has done, but unfortunately it'll take me a few years." That's a powerful confession. Randy admitted straight up that he borrowed some of Eddie's tricks, but he also kind of dissed them by calling it just flash. That must have stung for Eddie. Randy was using Eddie's techniques to hype the crowd during his Suicide Solution solo, but deep down he didn't want to be seen as Eddie's copycat. He wanted to stand apart, to carve his own identity as a true original. There's another story, one that adds even more drama to this rivalry. In Randy's biography by Andrew Klein, there's a wild claim that Eddie was keeping tabs on Randy's work. According to the story, during a break from Ozzy's tour, Randy went to his local record store to pick up some classical albums. When he walked in, surprise, Eddie Van Halen was there too, standing at the register buying Diary of a Madman. Sounds crazy, right? The idea that in 1982, at the height of Eddie's fame, he just happened to show up at the exact same record store at the exact same time as Randy Rhoads, and that he was personally buying Ozzy's album like he needed to hear what Randy was doing. Come on, Eddie could have sent anyone to grab that record if he really wanted it. The timing feels way too perfect, almost like a story made up to stir things up and troll Eddie a bit. Still, the rivalry between them wasn't all made-up drama. It was real competition. Back in 1977, they were both grinding in the same club circuit, but Van Halen hit superstardom first. A few years later, when Ozzy's band blew up and Randy's guitar work started getting major attention, Eddie definitely noticed. He even admitted that he'd read interviews with Randy and was aware of all the buzz surrounding him. It's wild to think about, two guitar gods walking the same streets, playing the same clubs, and pushing each other without ever really being friends. One was the flashpoint that started a revolution, and the other was the genius who refused to stay in his shadow. That shows Eddie was definitely curious about what Randy was up to, even if he wouldn't admit it outright. People close to Randy said Eddie Van Halen was one of his biggest inspirations, the guy who pushed him to play harder and go further. Audio producer Max Norman, who worked with Randy on Blizzard of Oz back in 1980, remembered that Eddie was one of the very few guitarists Randy actually talked about. Max said, "One day I asked him, 'What guitar players do you like, Randy?' And he said, 'I like Eddie Van Halen.' I'd never seen Eddie play, so when Randy started doing all the finger-tapping stuff, it was brand new to me. But Randy didn't copy Eddie's licks. He just picked up on some of his ideas and methods. That's natural. Every guitarist gets inspired by someone. That's the thing. Randy didn't steal from Eddie, he learned from him. he took that energy and made it his own. Randy's close friend Rudy Sarzo later said that Randy deeply admired both Gary Moore and Eddie Van Halen. Those were his top two heroes. Even Randy himself gave Eddie credit multiple times. He once said, "Eddie is great. I don't want to get near competing with people like that." In another interview, he said straight up, "I mean, Eddie Van Halen is fantastic. You can tell. There was admiration there, not hate." Randy respected what Eddie had done, even if people tried to turn it into a rivalry. Then there's this moment that really says it all. On February 2nd, 1982, during a guitar clinic in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, a fan stood up and asked Randy, "I've heard a lot of rumors that you're just copying Eddie Van Halen. Were you influenced by him?" The crowd started buzzing, some shouting, others laughing, and Randy smiled and said, "Yeah, I was actually." That was pure honesty. No ego, no denial, just truth. He used to show kids Van Halen riffs and teach them how to play them. But here's the key. He didn't copy Eddie's solos note for note. He didn't clone his style. Like Max Norman said, Randy only picked up some of Eddie's ideas and methods, then twisted them into something completely his own. That's what made Randy Rhoads special. He could be inspired by a legend but still sound totally unique. Sadly, after Randy's tragic plane crash, Eddie was asked about him in an interview. And this is where things got controversial again. The interviewer asked, "What do you think of Randy Rhoads?" Eddie replied, "Well, he was one guitarist who was honest anyway, because I read some interviews that he did. He said that everything he did, he learned from me, you know? And he was good." Then the interviewer pushed further. "He was the first one to come along after you and inspire that kind of worship among guitar players." Eddie said, "Oh, sure, but I don't really think he did anything that I haven't done." The interviewer shot back, "He's a little different, but I hear a lot of you in him. The first time I ever heard him, I thought it was a guy copying you." And Eddie replied, "Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's just like anyone else who does the things that I do. They're obviously going to sound a little different, but still, you know, I can tell when someone's using my technique. But there's nothing wrong with that." Even though it sounded a bit arrogant, Eddie's words also revealed something real. He knew his influence was everywhere, and he recognized that Randy was part of that wave. Behind all the ego and pride, there was an unspoken connection between them. Two guitar geniuses who shaped the sound of a generation, both watching each other from a distance, both chasing perfection in their own way. Eddie even wrapped it up by admitting, "You know, I learned from other people too." The interviewer agreed, saying, "Yeah, it's just something that people hear, they like it, and they want it." And Eddie replied, "Sure, there's nothing wrong with it, man. I've copied other people back, you know." That line right there says it all. When you think about it, Eddie's earlier statement, "Everything he did, he learned from me," does sound a little pompous. But deep down, he knew the truth. Every great guitarist borrows, learns, and builds off the ones who came before. Randy definitely did his own thing. He just added his flavor to the fire Eddie started. Sure, they weren't best friends, but there was a deep professional rivalry there, the kind that pushes artists to greatness. It was like the dynamic between Jimmy Page and Ritchie Blackmore, two titans from the same era, different styles, same obsession with perfection. If Eddie was the Page of his time, then Randy was the Blackmore, bold, precise, and full of passion. And when it came to igniting the scene, Eddie was like Jimi Hendrix reborn, lighting up 1978 and setting every guitarist's soul on fire. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Eddie Van Halen versus Randy Rhoads rivalry, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more legendary rock stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.